to get started, but I'm going to leave that door open in case anybody comes in, because we only had a 40-minute time slot, and now I'm down to a 32-minute time slot, which is fine, because I'm not sure how much I actually have to say about this, but I wanted to make sure that we as a school were communicating clearly what graduation requirements were, what graduation tracks were, and some of the idiosyncrasies that come along with having multiple graduation tracks, and being in a place where there's a variety of options and opportunities and necessities that our students face being at a small private school that doesn't offer things like driver's ed or different programs. So, again, I'm just going to try to go through this, and if you have any questions, feel free to, I'm serious, feel free to stop me and say, well, what did you mean by that? I will try to ask if there are questions along the way, but please do not hesitate to interrupt me on this one, because this is the first time I've gone through all of this, and I want to make sure it's clear and everybody's understanding. So before I get into what our graduation tracks look like and the idiosyncrasies of that, I want to read through, and for those of you, I mean, Lisa's the only one in here, who went through my Morning with the Muses studies, the second time you're going to hear this, I want to read you our vision statement to start, because the vision statement at Trinity, you have this, it's in your parent handbook, it's in the student handbook, it's in the board handbook, is a picture of a graduate. When we wrote it, that was our intention. Our intention was to have an end goal picture that then we could work backward from and decide, okay, if we want our students to be able to discern what is true, good, and beautiful, how then do we need to instruct them? And so if we're going to talk about graduating at Trinity, the first thing in the framework that we have to have in mind is that this is not all about credits and grades. Those play a part in what we're doing, but our goal is to accomplish this. So Trinity Academy will be a beacon of hope in the community as we strive to nurture joyful children whose hearts are inspired to love God and mankind, whose minds can discern what is true, good, and beautiful, and who speak with eloquence to boldly proclaim and defend truth. Our legacy will be their devoted lives, marked by compassion, integrity, and a continued longing for knowledge and God's wisdom as they bear Christ's image in the world. I hope that you hear in that our goal at Trinity is not to produce tiny little academics whose entire goal is to be the smartest person in the room. Your kids probably are going to be the smartest people in the room oftentimes, but it's more important to us that they're compassionate and have integrity than that they're the smartest person in the room. Not all of our students are going to go to college. We understand that. We actually crafted this education here at Trinity so that it could be a holistic education, that if they want to launch into further matriculation and further academic pursuit, they will be prepared to do so. But if they don't, they have had a complete formation to the best that we are able to offer them to go into the world and accomplish these things in our mission. Does that make sense? Okay. So let me direct your attention first to the board governance manual here. You heard Paul talk about the Harvard model this morning. The board governance manual is available in our administrator's office if you ever want to go look at it. But I want to show you what the parameters that he talked about, the board setting forth the boundaries. What are the parameters that we are operating within to provide graduation? So if you go all the way down to 5.1.5, you see Trinity Academy shall provide 3 distinct academic tracks for students to result in a positive individualized outcome at the completion of rhetoric school or equivalent at Trinity Academy. Number 1, standard track, a program of study open to all students based on the minimum studies required for a secondary school diploma under the guidelines of classical Christian schools and state law. I'm going to go over what these are in a minute. Number 2, honors track, a program of study requiring additional coursework and an increased level of academic intensity. Number 3, alternate track, a program of study and socializing for students not enrolled in the TA standard or honors track that may result in a certificate of completion vice diploma. Okay, so let's talk about number 3 first. Number 3, the alternative track. That is our held program. HELP program is an acronym. HELD stands for Helping Educate Those Who Learn Differently. Mrs. Sash is the director of our HELP program, so I'm super glad that she's in here. Our HELP program is individualized. It is specifically individualized to every student that is part of it. And we work, and this is new for us, actually, working through what these courses are going to look like for students who are specifically in the HELP program, how we manage them in a succinct way to accomplish the certificate of completion. That's not the standard diploma or the honors diploma, but it is a full course of study. As we are crafting and creating these individualized studies for students who are in the HELP program, we are continually cognizant of the same vision. This is still our vision for everybody who is in the HELP program. It doesn't deviate because they're in a different academic track. And I want to make that clear. They still ascribe to all of the values and benefits that we at Trinity are attempting to accomplish. In that, we strive to incorporate them within classroom and with their peers as much as possible. Again, this is a learning process and it's individualized for every student, so that might look different. If you have a student who's not in the HELP program, it's very likely they will be in class with a student who's in our HELP program. So that can be something that you can anticipate. Do you want to add anything to that? I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, you did pretty good.
Okay. Any questions about that, let me know. I think the majority of families in here are looking at either the standard track or the honors track. So then let me direct your attention to this form. This form was voted on by our board. And so everything you see here is a requirement that has been handed down by the board to govern the way that we schedule and provide coursework at the school. It was done informed with state laws in mind. It was done informed with college admission in mind. And it was done informed with his complete holistic view in mind. The standard track runs closer to what your state requirements are for a graduation. And the only difference, I think that all of our graduates so far have been honors graduates, if I'm not mistaken. The only difference that you would see in graduation between a standard graduate and honors grad is going to be a designation on the program that they graduated with a standard diploma or an honors diploma. It's not a different ceremony. It's not, they don't wear a different color robe or anything like that. This is just a designation to identify how many credits they've completed. And again, they will still receive a complete, full education, whether they choose to go the honors track or not. We're not a school that offers AP classes or honors classes. All of our classes are taught at a pretty high level. So the honors program adding additional credits is what designates it as being a little bit more rigorous or deserving of that honors note. All right, so let's look at what's similar. There's a lot, there's really, really a lot that's similar here. We have Bible on the standard track and the honors track require 4 credits. What is a credit? A credit is they are enrolled for a full calendar year in that class, and they successfully complete that class. In order for them to receive a passing grade from that class, I believe the policy manual says they have to achieve a minimum 60% proficiency in the class, is what they say specifically. However, I do want to make a note to say, maybe not in Bible, but, well, let me wait till I get to math to talk about that. Okay, so Bible theology, that means that you see Bible theology and rhetoric. Our rhetoric school is our 10th through 12th grade, and our Bible class for specifically 11th and 12th grade covers not only Bible, but also covers standard and classical rhetoric. So we've combined those 2 concepts into a class. Mr. Snett actually uses it to work on, and we talked about how at the upper level, our students are honing those rhetorical skills, the skills to be able to communicate effectively and efficiently and persuasively. And so he does that and uses scripture in the context of working and honing those skills. So they're doing speeches on the different biblical passages that they are working through and the different biblical concepts that they're working through. But he's additionally talking about classical rhetoric, evoking an ethos, or how to connect with an audience. Those kinds of things are things that he's covering in the class. Humanities. Humanities is a double class. It is both an English credit and a history credit. So we require 4 years of that. Your kids 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade will be in humanities class every single day or every single year. That is a double block on Monday, Tuesday, and this year it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. We also designate time on Wednesday as humanities time so that they have time to work through assignments, because we see that as necessitating a full 2 blocks, 4 days a week, or as close as we can get to that. So they'll do that every single year. Fine arts, 4 blocks. Currently, the fine art that is required for 4 years is choir. That's where we are. That's why all of our kids sing. Why do they like this? Why did we pick that? Well, we knew we wanted a fine art component because we love what the fine arts do in the context of what we're doing. We're learning to recognize what is beautiful. It is important that we are giving intentional instruction in the fine arts. Why did we pick choir? We felt that every person is commanded in Scripture to sing hymns and spiritual songs to the Lord. It does not matter if you can sing well. You are asked to sing to the Lord, to lift praise, to offer praise. And so our hope is that our students, even if they don't sing well, can gain some confidence in singing well. Do you mind if I tell a Winston story?
Sure.
I would love to tell a Winston story. So last year, when Winston came to visit, I got to give his family the tour, and choir class was in session. And as we went to walk by choir class, I was telling them, Mrs. Chatterton does a pretty amazing job with this group of kids, and all the programs, they sound amazing. They're lovely to listen to. And Sandy said, Winston doesn't really like to sing. And I said, oh, but wait until you hear this group sing. So we kind of stood at the door, and they started singing, and Winston's jaw dropped. And he looked at me and he said, can she teach me to sing? And I said, yes, she can. So now Winston loves choir class, doesn't he?
He does. Mrs. Chatterton, though, I have to forewarn you. She came and talked to me halfway through, and she's like, I'm not sure what to do with him. And we figured out he sings high soprano.
He does. She found the magic flute, Mozart.
She found out that,
and she said, anybody who can sing with it. Winston was the only one who
did it. So that was the problem. He was trying to sing with the boys, and he needs to sing with the girls.
Yeah.
Until further notice. So, yeah. So we figured it out.
I can tell you that I share a wall with Mrs. Chatterton, and if your kids come home and they're complaining about choir, they are not complaining about choir class. They and laugh. They have so much fun in that class. So yes, for now, choir is the fine art that we require. Is it possible that in the future we would require a different fine art or allow a choice between fine arts? Sure, it's possible. But for now, this seems to be working, and we're pleased with what it does for our students and for the school, and that it meets that biblical standard that's laid before us. And so I don't see changing. So we have had people ask, can my kid just take band and drop out of choir? And the answer so far is everybody's taking choir. So they can also take band. Okay, PE. The only thing I really want to know about PE is a state requirement, right? Our kids have to go to PE. I want everybody to know that although we only meet once a week for PE, it's on Tuesday afternoons for a classroom PE session. We give students recess every single day. That is free active time for them to do what they want to do. We have considered, because recess doesn't come with high school most times, right? We've considered pulling that and making more PE classes instead of recess, and we've determined we don't think that's a good idea. We think giving students the freedom and the leeway to make their choices during that time and to have a time where they can just breathe and regroup and go into lunch without their hair on fire is more beneficial than having classes that are specifically designed for them to shoot basketballs. And they can shoot basketballs during PE if they want to. We love that free choice option that recess offers. So what we look at recess as kind of a free choice PE. And if you add all this time that they're doing it, it's actually 3 blocks of physical education throughout the week that they're getting. 3 full blocks of physical education throughout the week. I also want to make a note, if you have a special circumstance, Mr. Meyer might kill me for saying this, but if you have a special circumstance with PE, we're flexible. My daughter, as all of you know, is a ballerina. She is an intense ballet program at Peoria. She takes classes, they amount to 3 to 4 hours of classes every single day, and she has to miss the last block of the day in order to make it on time. Miriam never goes to PE class, but she receives a PE credit because she submits a report quarterly to the PE teacher that says, I took 17 hours of ballet classes this week, had per week for a total of 340 instructional hours. I had this many hours of rehearsal and I had 2 shows. And Mr. Smith says, okay, you get a PE credit. So I just want you to know that there is flexibility. If you have a kid who's on a traveling baseball team, if you have a kid who is really into greased pig wrestling, I don't know what it might be. But if you have a kid who's really into something, tennis, and you want them to have instruction in that, and it means that they might miss PE, we can be flexible with this, guys. Honestly, Miriam's getting more PE instruction in ballet than she would be going to the one class. Let's use our brains and be logical here, right? Okay. Speaking of logical, our next class is logic. All right. So you've all heard us talk about the grammar school, the logic school, the rhetoric school. Our kids take logic class in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade logic. 1 in 7th grade logic, 2 in 8th grade logic, 3 in 9th grade. If we have students transfer in, if they have not been here for our whole thing, if they come in 9th grade or they come in 10th grade, they still have to complete a logic credit. They do not have to complete the logic 3 credit. And you'll see that noted down below. Students are required to take at least 1 year of, it says Latin down below at any level, but they're also required to take 1 year of logic at any level. So if we have a student that joins in 9th grade, we are not going to throw them into Latin during logic 3. We're gonna put them in the lowest level that we think that they can successfully accomplish because we're not interested in frustrated students. And that's our heart for that. But they do have to complete that. And so working the schedule for that sometimes mean that they may not be in the class with their peers. But if your student has been here all the way through 7th through 12th grade, they will take those logic classes. Foreign language. So you'll see the standard track. Here's the first place that we deviate. Foreign language is 2 years for the standard track, 3 years for the honors track. The way that our schedule works is that they take Latin 1 to 7th, 8th, and they take Latin 3 in 9th grade. At such point as they have completed Latin 3 in 9th grade and completed their required 1 year of Latin, they may make a shift. And currently, what our shifting options are, you can either continue in Latin. We've had students go as far as Latin 6, I believe. You can just keep going Latin. If you like it and it's making sense, we have a great Latin teacher. And if you're someone who needs a teacher to give you instruction, stick with Latin, guys. It's good stuff. Really, when they get to the higher grades, they're just translating. They're just translating from Cicero and they're translating from Julius Caesar. And I think it's less onerous than all of the grammar and the structure and those kinds of things. But if they don't want to continue with Latin, this year we have added a Spanish program. We're offering Spanish 1. Hopefully we'll grow that to Spanish 2 at least, maybe more. If they don't want to take Latin or Spanish, we offer an independent language track where they can choose the language that they want to study. Now, there's a caveat with this. You have to have a student that can succeed when studying independently to choose this track. We've had some students do really well with this. We've had some students really struggle with this. And such that we have implemented, there are systems. Every week they have to submit a report to the independent language coordinator saying, this is what I accomplished this week in my independent study. And that can vary. We had one parent that found their kids a private tutor and went through private lessons with that tutor like once a quarter, and that tutor provided workbooks so the kid went through the workbooks and then called into the tutor. That was a very successful independent language student. We've had some students that have done Rosetta Stone, and they sit with their earbuds in the back of the class, and before we implemented that you have to report in, I think they did like the first 7 lessons 7 times each, because they were like, that was not a successful independent language student, which is why we implemented the checks. We have actually found that we don't love Rosetta Stone. None of our students really feel like they're very successful in it. We're not opposed to it. We own the program, so we can use it. But we work with the student to find something that works for them. This past year, we had, actually nobody used Rosetta Stone last year. Last year, everybody had workbooks. And we had one student who wasn't in Spanish. Our current Spanish teacher, Ms. Ants, oversaw our Spanish students. But our one student who wasn't in Spanish worked diligently through a workbook. Her workbook included some vocal cues and audio components, and she very successfully completed an entire year of study in the language that she was studying without a program and without a supervisor. In addition to submitting a weekly report, they have to submit a quarterly project, and that quarterly project is assigned by the independent language coordinator. I was the independent language coordinator until this year. Ms. Hance, who was our Spanish teacher, is taking that over. So if you have a student who's taking independent language, that Ms. Hance is now going to be your connection for that. However, I work with Ms. Hance all summer long to choose programs for our students who are doing it this year. So I'll still be available to her. Any questions on that? Was that clear? Yes.
I was wondering, you were saying, so the lab starts at 7th grade.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, so how, like with Melina coming in at 8th grade?
So I'm not sure. I need to look at the schedule on Melina and see what we're doing. Either we will bump her back and start her in Latin 1, and she'll be in Latin 1 with the 7th graders. We float students at their level a lot in this school. A lot. And I really, really, really want to normalize this, because not every student picks up Latin as quickly as other students do. However, Latin 1 is really very introductory, and Latin 2, our Latin teacher rolls back to the very beginning and covers all of it again. So they do the first section of a Latin text in Latin 1, and then for Latin 2, they go back to the beginning of that text and roll through. So if we've determined that we feel like she can handle Latin 2, then we may go ahead and just launch her, and that's all the same information is covered. If she's struggling, then we'll change what she's doing. Makes sense. What is she in Latin 2? Latin 1. Latin 1. There you go. She's in Latin 1. Yeah. Questions on that? Any other questions on that? Okay. How am I doing, Kelly? Doing great. Am I making sense? You're making sense. Okay. Let me say I have 10 minutes. Tomorrow, if you're interested in how these credits affect college admissions, if that's on your heart or something that you're interested in, I'm going to address that in my session tomorrow. So if you want to come to the college and scholarship session where we just kind of go through and break some of this stuff down, then attend tomorrow. I don't have time to really go through, but let me just say briefly, different colleges have different requirements. And so if your student has a particular college that they're really interested in, it's wise for you to look ahead to what those required courses are. Some schools they all require 4 years of English. They all require some language. They all require PE. Like there are some that they all require, but some require 4 years of math. Some require 3 years of math. Some require 4 years of science. Some don't. You have to look specifically at the colleges that your kids are going to apply to. So for foreign language, that's actually a big one. Some schools require 2 years of foreign language. Some schools require 2 years in the same language. So if your kid took Latin and then they do Spanish 1, if they don't have 2 years in the same language, they're not going to qualify for that school that they want to get into. So please pay attention to that. If you have questions, I'm happy to work through those requirements with you. But that's definitely something to pay attention to. Most of the higher level schools, like a U of I level school, really wants to see at least 3 years of foreign language. So be cognizant of that. Okay, science. Again, standard track 2 required, honors track 3 required. Once again, this is going to be largely determined by if they want to get into college or if they like science. Science is hard here. There's no getting around it. We do laboratory science here, which means they're going to do labs, and we are going to put them through a rigorous science curriculum. Historically, what we do is we teach a physical science, we teach a chemistry, we teach a biology. Actually, it goes physical science, biology, chemistry. And we offered physics for those students who are interested in taking physics. Not everybody chooses to. This year, we have a student doing an independent science in anatomy and physiology because they weren't interested in a higher physical science. They were more interested in a higher biology. They're doing that as an independent study, much like an independent language. Again, we can be flexible rather than creating situations where we have frustrated students who are banging their heads against the walls. Okay. Math. Here we go. This is the one where I really want to talk. Okay, so standard track is 2 credits. Honors track is 3 credits. But if you'll note down below, you must complete at least algebra and geometry. So in our upper school, we offer intermediate math, a pre-algebra, algebra, a geometry, an algebra 2, a pre-calculus, and a calculus. So far, that's what we've offered so far. To graduate from high school, you have to complete at least geometry. In the algebra 2, or in the honors track, you have to complete at least algebra 2. Is that correct? Am I saying that right? Because it's 3 years of math. So you have to have 3 years of high school level math. So you have to complete algebra 2. In order to, again, not breed frustration, let me just say from up here to anybody who's interested, repeating a math class is a good thing for students who do not grasp concepts. You guys all know my daughter Gloria, who graduated last year. She is an incredibly bright student who applied to some pretty high level colleges. Gloria repeated algebra 1, guys. Like, she struggled to gain the concepts of algebra 1. And so we have her and Wes, who got accepted into an engineering school, repeated algebra 1. So we really want to normalize here repeating math classes. We're doing something different in the upper school where we're saying, it used to be that we would flow kids down in those elementary classrooms if that was where their level was, and we're finding that doesn't work the best. Our elementary school teachers have a longer math class than the upper school students do. So those students would have to leave early from the instructional time that those elementary teachers are giving. Not only do they have to leave early out of there, but they don't receive instruction on Wednesdays. Our upper school meets Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Our grammar school meets Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So the students who are flowing down into elementary classes were losing instructional time on the days that there was math and on those Wednesdays. And we kind of looked at that and thought, okay, that's not working the best. We're going to try something different. So what we're going to try now is we have these other classes in the upper school, this intermediate math and pre-algebra. We're going to put kids into the best class where we think they fit, and we're going to ask them to repeat it if they don't get it all. That's where we're going in 7th and 8th grade, because we feel like repetition at a higher level of instruction and a more consistent level of instruction is going to be more successful for your students. So please don't be frustrated with us if we come to you and say, we'd really like your student to repeat this math so that they get it better. Now, that's going to be affected by which track your student is on. If your student only wants to get a standard diploma, and we say, we really think they could repeat algebra 1 so that they have a better understanding for algebra 2, but if they don't want an honors diploma, then they don't have to have a super great knowledge of algebra to pass geometry. So there's so many factors that are coming into the choices that we're making when we're building schedules for your students. We're trying to make the very best decision individually for your students. But ultimately, if they have passed the class, and I told you the minimum requirement for passing the class is 60%, it is your choice where your student gets placed. We don't want them to be frustrated. We're going to give you the best advice that we can, but we believe that parents are the first educators of their children. So we're not gonna say, if you won't put your kid in the class that we're recommending, then you're out here. Forget it. Does that make sense, everybody?
So the kids Tate had to go down either in math, which has been the best thing ever, right?
100%.
It's been that way for several years, which is
Absolutely.
fine. So now he's going in 7th grade,
Mhm.
which would then be Saxon 8-7 originally, right?
Well, he would have been in the 6th grade math, which is Saxon
Right.
8-7. We're putting him in pre-algebra.
Okay, that was my
Saxon 8-7 is a pre-algebra text as well.
Okay.
So really, our students on the stand, if they follow the grades, they get 2 pre-algebra classes. They get Saxon 8-7, which is a pre-algebra class, and then they get Glencoe pre-algebra.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're taking all of those students and putting them into the pre-algebra class that are qualified to take that class.
Okay.
And we're allowing them to take that, and if Tate doesn't pick it all up the first year, we'll ask Tate to just repeat pre-algebra again.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question. Good? Okay. Let me skip electives and go to life class. Life class is a 1-credit course that happens once every 4 years. It's a class that the board voted on because they felt very passionately they wanted our students to have life skills. And so what that was last year, or last time it was offered, was, the biggest conglomeration of skills you can imagine. Mr. Day did some like basic budgeting, cooking, changing your tire, those kinds of things. Then he also offered it to parents to come in and teach sections. I know Nikki came in and taught a section on international travel, right? How to apply for your passport, how to book an international hotel, how to manage those kinds of things. Dr. LaFountain did a session on how to write an appropriate email to a college professor, because he gets so many emails from students that are inappropriate, or they don't accomplish what they should accomplish. And then let me tell you, my kids all in Florida is like, I'm really good at writing emails myself. Dr. LaFountain taught me how. And I've seen them. She's very efficient. She's very polite. That's what life class is. It will be offered, I think, next year. We have to offer it. So just if you're wondering what that is, that's what it is. Senior thesis. You've all heard the dreaded senior thesis. Guess what? We are making senior thesis less onerous and not as bad. Senior thesis used to be a 25-page requirement for the honors track and a 20-page requirement for the standard track. If you look on your notes now, it is 15 for the honors track and 10 for the standard track. Let me tell you that in 11th grade, they are writing their humanities teacher a 10-page paper already. So they're not doing anything more in 12th grade for a senior thesis than they did in 11th grade. If they go with the standard track. They go with the honors track, they're bumping it up a little bit. When they do senior thesis, they have 2 senior thesis advisors who meet with them individually every week for a class period, and we block out time during the week for them to work on their senior thesis. It's not like we throw it at them and say, figure it out, give us your paper when you're done. We walk through the process of choosing your topic. We walk through the process of researching their topic. We walk through the process of writing their paper. We help edit their papers. They get multiple edits from multiple people. They have a senior thesis mentor who may or may not be one of their advisors who's here. Last year, my daughter had a mentor who lived in Chicago for her senior thesis. So, and we will walk through advising them and helping them find the person who's the best person to work with them on that. Once they've written their paper, they need to present and defend their senior thesis. That happens in 2 places. They do it once during the day to some of the upper school faculty and to their fellow students in 11th and 12th grade. And then we do an evening where they present, and anybody, friends and family are invited to come and hear them do their presentation, which is a shortened version of their paper. And then receive questions where they have to defend the position that they have taken. Typically, these senior theses are written on things that are topics that affect our world, and our students are trying to look at these topics in the light of Christ and in the light of going into the world and understanding how they can be a warrior for Christ and affect somebody that's very passionate to them. It's not a Bible paper. It's more of a current culture paper. Does that make sense? Wes did one on living independently and not subjecting yourself to a lazy lifestyle like our culture would ask us to do. Gloria did one on the importance of language. Brenna's was on the importance of art in the world and how if we want to really, really represent Christ's image, we need to be patrons of art because it's the best way that we can see, hear, know what God intended for us to understand about humans. Emma's was specifically on C.S. Lewis, someone that she really admired, and why he was the most influential theologian of the 20th century. And Eli's was on fantasy as a truth-telling and vessel through which Christ can be proclaimed. Did I get all those right, Marie?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, broad spectrum, guys. Huge spectrum. They were, and I think one of our students already has his topic for this year. Luke has his topic already, right? And his is on the value, the very, very strong value of students who do not pursue college. How if we do not have students who go into the technical world directly out of high school, we're losing part of it. That's his topic. Questions on senior thesis? Oh, I'm so over time, but I'm not done, guys. Sorry. Electives, we're going to continue to offer as many electives as we can. Our heart hears that our electives are very fine arts based, and we want more that are appealing to young men. Well, let me say that clearly from the podium. We would really like to have electives that young men are excited to take. Understand that band and theater aren't always it. The joy is that we have people who can champion band and theater here. And so if we're going to have other programs that appeal to other people, we need other people to champion those things. We're launching an ag program this year. We are hopeful that this ag program will extend into an FFA program here. That is our goal and that's our intention in launching this ag program. But we are not opposed to other electives as well. Sometimes that looks like a club. Maybe it starts as a club, but we are certainly open to adding more electives than that. Did you have a question for me? No? Okay. Let me just say quickly that we want to be accommodating to the opportunities that your students have. So something like the CEO program that we've had several students go through, we are in favor of. And on their transcript, they will receive 2 credit hours for CEO, which goes into our business section. They get 2 credits of business for CEO. One or two, maybe 1. Is it 2? Okay. But you need to realize that if they take something like CEO, they miss 2 full blocks 4 days a week. And that means we cannot fit into their schedule everything that's here. So typically what we've asked our CEO students to do is give up a language. We cannot fit them in a language class. And they have to give up either a math or a science, which is tough. Now, again, we are flexible. So we do have one student this year who is trying to do a math and a science, but has to do additional science work on Fridays because there is not the time during the day to complete the science work for a full science credit. Again, we will work with you. We will do the best we can to get the credits that your child needs, but it might be more onus on you and on your child if that's something you want them to do. Driver's ed. It's the bane of my existence. I know that we can work through our local schools. Hopefully you all know you can work through your local schools to get driver's ed for your kids. There are also private programs. I drove my kid to Peoria every day, 4 days a week, 4 weeks this summer to take driver's ed. It was not fun, but I am super grateful that it's done and it's over with. She's working with the local public school to do behind the wheel. And they are being super flexible with her to work with her on weekends for that. So talk to your schools, figure out how that works for you and for your family. For our students who are missing first block and part of second block, because typically they get them in first or second block, that's math class. So that, I know, it's really tough and it's really a pain. The plan this year, we'll see how it works. The 2 students that I know are in driver's ed, I haven't heard of any other ones, are in my math class, and my intention is to teach them during recess. So they're gonna have to give up the recess, yes?
So just from a planning committee side, it is secondary to the building is on highest priority.
Yes,
Yes.
we are working really hard to
Yes.
get our art program here. It takes time. But even if we can just get the classroom section here and you can coordinate with your local districts for behind the wheel, that is a goal, huge goal for us. Yes.
Burlington, Iowa is a private that you can take and they do reciprocity in Illinois. So you do it online and then you take your classes online.
What?
There's two that you do like a Zoom class and then the rest you do work at your own pace and then you drive, I think 6 drives with the instructor in Burlington, so you have to meet him. And yeah.
Okay, can you send me that information?
Yes.
There you go. There's another option, guys. Lots of options. But again, yes, it is a top priority for our planning team to get a driver's ed program in place for our students here.
We'll have that done in 2 years.
What's that?
I was kidding. I said, we have that done in about 2 years, and I'll be fine.
That'd be amazing.
We're made that happy.
I think Bushville's actually great because they'll
Bushville
give
is
you
pretty
class over the summer. And my local district won't do it over the summer.
That is one thing which she does.
Oh my gosh, amazing. If you're in the Bushville district, you're fine. So driver's ed CEO, work studies. You'll see on here that students are required to take 24 credit hours a year. That means the last 2 blocks of the day they could potentially be free if they've taken all their classes and they're on a standard track. If you guys would like your student to go work in the afternoon and they finish their credits, come up to us. We'll see if we can't work their schedule out to work, to make that work. That's not gonna work for students who probably are college bound. I'm talking more students who are gonna go into the workforce right after college. Oh my gosh, I'm 10 minutes late. What's the next session? 1:45. Is it in the gym? Oh, we start at 1:45. Sorry, guys. The last thing I'm just gonna say is that we also offer a la carte classes. So if your student, for some reason, is not fully enrolled at Trinity for whatever reason, you've got a health concern, you've got to withdraw them for a semester, and or struggling with anxiety, we will do classes one by one for you that you can then supplement on the school transcript to. That's always an option here. We're gonna try very hard to be flexible to make things work for our students so that this vision happens for every student. Yes.
Can you talk about high school diploma just as like an overview? I feel like as soon as you discuss being in Cherokee, the question is, can they graduate there? What was their diploma to say?
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
exactly the question you
Absolutely. The diploma is 100% the same. Our graduates have gotten into state schools, private schools, and honestly, if you look at colleges and employers now, they accept a homeschool diploma, they accept a private school diploma. We do not need an accreditation for that to be accepted. Our sister school, Naperville Christian Academy, again, students full rides to Vanderbilt, full rides to all over the place. They have 0 accreditation. So this high school diploma is exactly the same as the high school diploma we'll get, other than we focused on different things. The credits are accepted, the credits are looked at. We have done, in years past, we've had students enroll in like a dual credit at a college. Colleges work with us. They're happy to have our classes count as a dual credit, but we have professors that can do that. It's no different. Other questions? I've never, Gloria, in the entire application process, never said qualify whether or not you're in private school, qualify whether you're in a accredited school. Okay, sorry we did this so long.